So let's get it right into it. So three quarterbacks went in the top 4. Bryce Young, number 1. C.J. Stroud, number 2. And Anthony Richardson, number 4. So, Frecks, I ask you, what is your take on Bryce Young going to the Panthers?
Yeah, I think going into this offseason, I think it was pretty clear. Not clear because there was some debates whether it was me, C.J. Stroud, or Bryce Young going 1. But I think Bryce Young, in my opinion, was a clear-cut number 1. I think he's proven a lot at Alabama. Like we talked about before the show, he won Heisman his first year at Alabama. He's taken them to the playoffs multiple times. I think he's just proven more than C.J. Stroud has. Mm-hmm. He hasn't had as great of weapons around him, even though he's at Alabama. But like, if you just look back at who C.J. Stroud has had at wide receivers, I'm not saying that's the reason he's successful, but I think that does have a big role in why.
Like he's gonna have C.J. Stroud is literally gonna have 4 first-round receivers. He had Garrett Wilson. He had Chris Olave. He had Jackson Smith and Jigba, who went first round this year. And then next year, Marvin Harrison is going to go first round.
And yeah, I'm not saying like Alabama doesn't have the players because we all know they do. But right. I'm just saying that the weapons that C.J. Stroud had around him passing-wise is just a lot more different than who Bryce Young had. And I think he's proven himself a little bit more. I like him off-field and I like him on-field. He's a very composed player, and I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, I really like Bryce Young going to the Panthers. Like, although there was some debate between him and C.J. Stroud, I do feel like the Panthers really got this pick right. Although there was conversation about his height, and like you've been saying, like he can't grow. You know, Bryce knows the kind of player that he is, so he's just gonna control what he can control. And what I really like about Bryce is how much pride he takes in leading. You know, and you know, the Panthers really haven't had that type of leader since Cam Newton. And I feel like Bryce is ready to turn that franchise around. And with them being the NFC South, you know, that division is not like, it's not much comp, really. You know, Brady's gone. The Saints are iffy. And then the Falcons. Although the Falcons have been making some moves, we just might see the Panthers and
the Falcons turn it around.
Yeah, at 1 and 2 at that division.
And back to Bryce Young's height, I don't really think his height's going to play into much of a role, considering that he was at Alabama with massive O-linemen. Right. And I think he's adjusted to seeing over the O-line. I don't think his height's going to be an issue at all. He's proven he's played in the best division in college football. He's played against the best of the best, and like he's done fine. Height was never really the issue with him. It was if anything, it was his arm strength. But I think he's going to get that done. Yeah.
And now we move on to number 2, the Texans taking C.J. Stroud. My take on this is, like, we all know that C.J. Stroud is probably the best pure pocket passer in this draft. And I feel like this is it's a nice fit for them. Like, although in my mock draft I said that they shouldn't take a quarterback if it wasn't their guy. But obviously, you know, they just hid from everyone that, you know, that they liked C.J. Stroud. So they did end up taking him at 2. And my only thing is, like, I just hope that, you know, they don't waste this talent. Because to me, I feel like C.J. Stroud could really be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL in years to come. But, you know, it's just based on what Houston does for him as a franchise, you know. Houston, they were the reason why they went down this route, you know. Trading DeAndre Hopkins for literally nothing, and then, you know, you let go of Watson, and then there's your franchise right there. They had two downfall years, really 3 with Deshaun Watson's final year, and now you reset the clock with C.J. Stroud. So I just really hope that they do what's necessary for C.J. to succeed.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. I think he is the best prototype passer and quarterback in this draft, and I think that he can succeed. And like what you said with Deshaun Watson, they are getting a retake with this. They're having a part 2, and hopefully they don't mess it up. Yeah, Deshaun Watson had his problems. That's the reason why they let go of him, but he's still playing now, so it wasn't really that. I'm not saying it wasn't big, but it was kind of a mistake of what they did, especially what they. The only good thing they got out of it was not paying him that contract.
Right.
But with C.J. Stroud, though, I do hope that they get him weapons around him. Like you said, the Texans released DeAndre Hopkins, his number 1 receiver. But even after he was gone, Deshaun Watson was still doing good with Brandon Cooks. Right. And I'm not saying C.J. Stroud won't be able to do that, but with the receivers he has now,
Robert Woods is wide receiver number 1 right now.
That's not, yeah. And they let go of Brandon Cooks too, who was also on the team last year, who played pretty well with Davis Mills.
Davis Mills, yeah.
It's just, although Houston has a whole new front office, whole new coach, so I do think that they're gonna fix their pieces up. And I mean, they got Will Anderson right after it, so I think they're on the right track.
Yeah. All right, now we go to number 4, Anthony Richardson. As you guys know, I'm a Colts fan. I said on my mock draft video that I would have been extremely disappointed if we took Will Levis. I probably wouldn't have been a fan of the Colts anymore. But Frecks, to me, like, we all know Anthony Richardson is a project. You know, he has things to work on. But what I really like about Richardson is, like, he seems dedicated to want to work. You know, he's high praising himself, and you know, there is confidence, but then there's, you know, overconfidence. And I don't feel like he's overconfident. I just feel like he knows what he can be, you know. Richardson, although he only has 13 starts, and you know, that's the big reason, like that's the big thing everyone is talking about. But with Shane Steichen being our new head coach, we've seen the type of quarterbacks that he's been able to develop. He went from Phillip Rivers to Justin Herbert, and then Jalen Hurts last year. And since Shane Steichen has been, you know, there coaching them, we've seen those guys take a growth step in their second year. So I feel like, you know, it might not be right away with Richardson. He's only 20 years old. He's not even able to drink yet. You know, he's gonna be 21 in May. So, you know, we have time to, you know, develop him. And what I really like is when he's going to be asking for a second contract, he's still not even going to be 25 years old. So, like, we just have a long window with Anthony Richardson as our quarterback. And, you know, if things go well, I feel like we just might get a Super Bowl out of him. You know, he said that he's dedicated to bringing a Super Bowl to Indy. And I really feel if all things go right, you know, we get the pieces that we need, and we use him how he can be used, and use his arm and his legs all in one. I really feel like he has top 5 quarterback potential, and to me, like, he has a Josh Allen arm, he has a Cam Newton body with Lamar Jackson speed, and like you really don't find those type of quarterbacks really anywhere, and like this is a long shot kind of pick. You know, you said previously, like, Anthony Richardson is a pick where you either get fired or you're staying in that GM spot for a lifetime. And I really feel like that's what it is with Ballard. And with Ballard, you know, we talked about him being on the hot seat. I feel like he took this route because he knows it resets the clock. It gives him more time as a GM. He probably has two or three more seasons, really probably 3 more. But I really like this pick for Indy, and with him and JT in that backfield, it's not even you can't even think about like what Shane Steichen's gonna be able to draw with the option and the RPO.
Right, and I mean, I personally like the pick. I think, like Chris Ballard went into the draft, he knew that he was gonna be a project. Like you said, he's only 20 years old. He has the characteristics. He's like a gift from God almost. Like that combine, he's probably the most athletic, gifted quarterback that's ever been in the history of college football and going into the NFL. He is just a freak of nature. He's 20 years old. He has a lot of room, but like you said, he is a project. He has a lot of question marks around him, but I think he could succeed. He has potential. His ceiling is through the roof. I'm excited to see what happens with it, and we've seen Shane Steichen develop Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, who I think is probably the most comparison to him. He has a rock of an arm, but my only question we'll talk about later is just his arm accuracy. But I think he can fix that. He just misses a little on the short throws and medium throws, but we've seen his long ball threat.
Right. And like those are the type, that short throw and medium throws, like those are the type of things I believe that Shane Steichen will be able to fix. You know, that's just all mechanics right there. And with AR, like, you know, dedicated to wanting to get better, I feel like he would have fixed that.
And he was at Florida. Yeah, it's in the SEC, but he didn't really have SEC receivers on his team. Like they were pretty good. He might have had. I don't even think he had Kadarius Toney for a year, but if he did, he wasn't even starting. But he didn't have the receivers that like Georgia would have, Bama would have, LSU would have. He had like the low income receivers on the team, and he still made it work. But I mean, we'll see. I think it was a good pick for Indiana or Indianapolis, but yeah.